More is better, so they say, but not when it comes to noise. And there's a lot of noise in the app stores currently. It's monstrous. It's massive. It's a huge market where Apple App Store and Google Play together, they have about 5 million apps. So rising above the noise, that is an ongoing challenge. But it's also set to change with the advance of alternative app stores and distribution channels as well. Or is it? That's the question, right? How disruptive or how lucrative will it be for app developers and platforms? Well, it's a hot and debatable point. So with that in mind, take it to that limit. We're going to debate it here. We're not just going to chat about it. We're going to debate it here. And we've got two sharp minds representing two different aspects of the app economy. And they're going to debate it. And the best arguments, guys, well, the ones that win me over are the ones that win, right? So it's not street fighting here. It's going to be screen fighting. All right. So with that, let's welcome, I'd say in each corner almost, we have Shalom Michaeli. He is Managing Director, Global Alternative Distribution and Growth at Digital Turbine. He leads a team of sales and business development professionals, very passionate about delivering the best mobile solutions for clients and partners. And I think we're going to hear that passion today, because I did say, powerful, passionate debate. And Shalom himself has over 11 years of experience in the mobile industry, working with the mobile publishers, advertisers, platforms across various markets and regions. Shalom, it is great to have you. And are you pumped for this?
Yes, let's go.
You are ready, because you have your opponent, Piyush Mishra. We have you back. I've seen you several times, head of growth at Product Madness. You're, of course, an experienced marketing leader. And yes, Piyush is my personal go-to guy for all things privacy related, data related. He's a writer, a filmmaker, a road warrior who loves to travel. And he's been on several podcasts and shows, including ours today. So we are very lucky to have you. Piyush, are you ready for this? Are you up for it?
I'm up for it, but I'm just a little bit, tensed about Shalom's passion. He has too much of it for this one.
Well, I've introduced you here, but I know you know each other pretty well and have been crossing paths a couple times. So tell me about this. Like, where did you guys meet? What's this ongoing thing you have, this vibe?
Oh, where was the first one, Piyush? I think it was on the Games Forum a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
We had a panel together.
The unfiltered panel, yeah. He's been talking about alternative apps for the last 1.5 years, Peggy, just to give you a heads up, So even back then at Games Forum, I think 1.5 years ago, it was the main point of discussion. So I'm just a bit scared of him. I'm just saying, right off the bat. It's a David versus Goliath battle where I might lose, but let's see.
Don't be intimidated by all those things. I'll tell you, Peggy, honestly, I got an invitation after the first time that we met on a Games Forum, and he and Adam invited me to have a podcast together with them. And this is where exactly you understand how they think, how knowledgeable they are. That was very much exciting to be with them, with Piyush and Adam. But he knows so many things about the industry, so hopefully we can have some discussion over here, because his knowledge is immense.
Okay, so we've got it. And it's a great match. So let me tell you about how we're going to do this, right? So it's a debate. We've got 4 rounds, 4 questions. You get 60 seconds to state your case, right? Make your point, and I will make a call based on how powerful and passionate you make your point. That doesn't mean Shalom's going to be the hands down winner, Piyush. You have a chance too here as well. We've got 4 rounds, 2 brilliant minds, and let's try to keep it to 0 BS. All right, so let's do it. Round number 1. Tell me the one market force that is driving the need for alternative app stores and distribution. And I will start this time with you, Piyush.
It's literally just one number, 30% commission that Google and Apple, take from the developers. Because sometimes what happens is we have to split this conversation into 2, like one from a consumer standpoint, one from a developer standpoint. From a developer standpoint, obviously the 30% commission without having any alternative in the market becomes a bigger issue. Because typically what happens is developers try to pass that increased amount of money to the consumer. And the second point is obviously innovation that we can come to at a later stage. Shalom, how do you counter that?
Good points. I think that, and definitely agree, but I think that the first and the most important driving force that is actually driving the alternative app stores is the regulatory changes, the legislation changes that are happening right now. We all have heard about the European Digital Market Act, the DMA announcement, which basically will come into effect during March 2024, which is aiming basically to limit the power of major gatekeepers, right? Apple and Google within the app stores. They seek to increase the competition in the app market, right? And how they will do it? They will do it by two ways. One, and the first foremost by requirements that consumers should be able to download applications from competing app stores, aka right side loading. And the second one is that consumers and developers should be able to use competing payment providers for in-app purchases. And to your point, exactly that. These obligations basically intend to increase price competition and enable app developers to avoid high fees that Google and Apple charge for in-app purchases.
Okay, well, I liked your straight to the point answer, Piyush. I really, really did. But I have to say, he's got a lot of detail. Very, very convincing. I got to give it to you, Shalom. You know your stuff. You're well prepared. So give us the TLDR of what all this means.
Sure. So, alternative app stores are not new to the market. They've been in the industry for many, many years. But up until now, alternative stores were mainly associated with the APAC region. Almost 50% than the revenues are coming from alternative stores are coming from China. And currently, and this is for the first time, that we get on a silver plate for app developers, not only an option to reduce fees on alternative store, but actually on a silver plate, the Ivy League of the countries, US and Europe.
All sounds like a very, very optimistic future. We're going to go to round 2, right? We talked about what's driving the advance of alternative app stores, but now what is going to clinch that deal? We're going to find out now, because the question, round 2, is what is the unique value proposition that alternative app stores offer that traditional app stores don't? Shalom, you were the winner, so you got to start. It's all yours.
One of the most painful points for app developers is the revenue sharing model, where they have to share with the platform. Alternative stores might offer lower fees, which is the basic of any future, economic growth for them. So that's number one. The second thing is freedom for developers, flexibility for developers. Some alternative stores provide more freedom for developers, allowing them to experiment different app store functionalities without many restrictions that the major app stores provide or impose. So publisher takeover, for instance, we have invented a publisher takeover that takes basically the first impression of a user by seeing an ad, or a games match that enables the publisher to choose a category and then basically match the category to a game for a user. So different kind of components that, again, create more flexibility for the developer. But I think also, Peggy, one of the most important things that we need also to remember is the industry evolutions and the industry's consolidation recently, together with disruptive technologies that we see. The OEMs and the carriers were not part of the app ecosystem from the in-app purchases system for many, many years. And this is their opportunity to actually get back into the business. Those partnerships lead to technologies such as single click to download, which can greatly affect the value that those developers receive from alternative stores.
He is passionate, Piyush. We're going to be liberated.
Told you.
It's going to be flexible. It's going to be a better world for you.
Come on, Piyush.
Look, I have on this one. I have my counter. It's not. Look, at the end of the day, we have to split the conversation again into two: one on Android, one on iOS. The best thing about this alternative app store is again, from a developer standpoint, is the factor of innovation. You can innovate a lot more when it comes to alternative app store because they are new. They're new to the market. They democratize the market in certain sense because you have the developer and you have the consumer, and the distribution systems are basically the ones that are at the center. And if you have only two options in the market, especially on the iOS, when you have only one option, like Google and Apple, right? Then it becomes a bigger problem. So if you have like several doors to go through, then it becomes a lot more option of what innovation can be done from the developer standpoint. But at the same time, my reservations are with the same thought that Shalom mentioned on the Android side, right? I mean, Android has allowed side loading for a while. And the innovation has only happened in certain markets. So the question also becomes, are the developed market like US and EMEA, right? Are they not ready for alternative app stores at all? Now, even with the DMA coming in, right, that would be allowed at the end of the day. But given the history of Android, it doesn't suggest that it has been expanded very rigorously, across the globe. It's literally China, India, some parts of Latin America, and for a brand to put their trust out there and actually allowing different apps to be created, that becomes sort of a very difficult dynamic to process in the future. So I'm not saying it's not going to work out. I'm just saying we have to take a very cautious approach to it. And at the same time, to answer your question in one word, it's innovation. When you have multiple gatekeepers, you can innovate a lot more.
Shalom, great points. But he said this time 2 words that really excite me. I hear democratization and innovation. How can that be a bad thing? It's going to be great. Maybe not at the speed of change, but it's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. I'll give it to you, Piyush, and then I want to hear from you, the TLDR of how you think this is all going to play out.
Look, at the end of the day, if you look at Android, right, as Shalom correctly mentioned, right, all the manufacturers, right, all the carriers and everybody, right, they're all sort of trying to create their own alternative app store. None of them expanded that big in US and Europe. But at the end of the day, maybe instead of giving TLDR, I want to ask a question to Shalom on this one. What is the world that you vision with iOS alternate app store? What's the world that you envision?
To answer your question, Piyush, I think that we all need to change our thinking a little bit and think about, the relationship that we have today between the consumer to the app store. And this relationship between the consumer to the app store goes through the operating system, and does go through Google on Android and Apple on iOS. And think about, you're playing on your Android phone, you're playing a game, Candy Crush, you're level 150. And tomorrow you change your phone to an iPhone. So you have to download the application again, and you have to reach 150 again. Or the developer loses you as a loyal user because you are maybe not coming back at all. So think about this relationship changing from consumer to the operating system, but the consumer to actually an app store. And that creates a meaningful, fundamental change, because if the relationship with the app store, then if you change your phone, then you continue playing from the same place. Those changes will shape basically the way we interact with app stores and applications in the future. This is how I see it happening.
But Shalom, at the end of the day, Android has multiple manufacturers, right? While iOS is only having one manufacturer, which is Apple. And Apple would control that environment. They'll make sure that they're going to control that environment. So even if side loading is allowed, the trust that Apple gives to the consumer, I don't think that's a process that's going to go away in the next 5 years. It's going to take some time. I agree with you.
The verification of the applications and making sure that only the right apps will get into those stores will still take in place. And the idea is not only by several, vendors like, service providers like ourselves, but also, for example, with the OEM and the carrier. The verification process and making sure that only the right applications are in there is a crucial part. And I can tell you, Pierre, something else. It's not about the quantity anymore. It's about the quality applications. Nobody needs 5 million apps in the App Store anymore. Less is more. And I think that this is also a big focus. And how the process will become and how it will run, I agree with you. There is time, but we cannot, avoid the fact that it's already happening right now.
So we are going to move on with round 3. And this is the big one, right? Because we agree everything's going to be different. It's going to be positive outcomes for app devs. But what about the bottom line? So the question, how can alternative app stores build a sustained revenue model, one that can compete and thrive when it comes to making money for devs like you, Piyush, and also the platform itself? I will kick it off with you, Piyush, this time around.
From a developer standpoint, alternative app store would always make sense, because look, every single app store, new apps, let's call it new app store for now, right? Any new app store that would come would always ensure a lower commission. For example, if I'm paying $10 for 10 million coins, right? And I can get 13 million coins for $10 in the other world where I can save 30% commission. It's a win for us. I can give more coins to the consumer to play, right? And the same cost, I don't need to make more money as a developer in the process. I can just ensure that there is more options and more, coins for the players to play with, right? So it's always a good thing to play around with commission. Now, it's not going to go down to 0% for any of the app stores, right? At the end of the day, every single app store would have to sustain. My only point being, I don't know how they came up with the number of 30%, Google and Apple. They did. That's the problem. The problem is the duopoly, right? When they say that, okay, it's the 30%, that both of them are sort of saying it's got to be 30%. Nobody can challenge that. Now, if there's somebody coming in to challenge that, what happens? Would the overall cost go down? Would at some stage Google and Apple consider cutting it down to 25% or 20% or 15% if there are a lot more app stores in the market, right? So let's see. The process is, I'm not, like, personally speaking, as a developer, I'm obviously excited with the alternative app stores, but I'm more excited with how Google and App Store would react to this in terms of commissions when there are a lot more alternative app stores in the market and consumers are actually rushing towards that. Because the other thing also, the other perspective also from here is from a consumer standpoint. Now, for consumers to move to other app store is quite a big task, especially for a developed market. I keep on bringing US and EMEA and other markets, right, where there is a trust associated with a particular brand and people tend to stick with it, right? So it's, at the end of the day, my only issue is how would consumer behavior change in the future, because they have to get more from the alternative app store for them to shift.
Tough one. Shalom.
Yeah, tough one. I can relate to Piyush, and then maybe I'll reply. I think that, definitely it's a tough one. We can't speculate what Google and Apple will do. They're giant companies, and even 5 or 10% decrease on IEP fees is monumental. It's a huge $1 billion, decrease, and they are public companies. I think that, in terms of consumer experience, that's also, interesting, because there are ways to download, alternative APKs, basically APKs that don't have the Google's billing, without going through, a store even. So those technologies exist, and there are ways to increase growth within the economy without necessarily going through alternative store. The alternative stores, we need to understand, is it's not the end goal for us or for the ecosystem. It's a gate for the user to download an alternative APK with a decreased, IEP fees, with maybe a better user experience, but not necessarily the end goal. There are ways that a user can still download an application with alternative APK with a decreased fees without even going through the store. Then we're doing that today, and different publishers have definitely different needs. User experience. It's important to make sure that the user experience within the application is adequate. The platform sustainability. So, but the basic foundation should be developers' friendly revenue share model, which improves developers' economics. But if you also utilize it properly, you thoughtfully combine also in-app advertising, because again, different publishers have different needs. Then you can lead to additional source of income for both app developers and stores. And think about in-app advertising. It doesn't have to be in the way in-app advertising runs today. That is aggressive, right? It's also combining the services that platforms can provide. Tools and services like analytics, web to app conversions. Now think about, you have an application that you see an ad on mobile web, and with one click you download this application to your device. Those are complementary services, and a combination of IAP, revenues from IAP, from ads and services can enable alternative stores to compete and thrive in this ecosystem. So now we have all those forces coming together, with technologies, with market, with the right timing, and with the developers need to accommodate future growth. And, Piyush was speaking about it, you're probably right. What's the growth for publishers in the future? Where is more consolidation? CPI is increasing, CPM decreasing, the gap is going to different, industry players. So where's the growth? And definitely we believe that that's gonna be a fundamental part, again, in the next years, for publishers.
No, I completely agree with that, because I was about to come to that point, which is from a developer standpoint. The reason everybody is starting to look more closely to alternative app stores, developers are trying to figure out where is the new growth hack coming from, and saving any amount of money from the 30% commission that you give to Google and Apple, and pushing more users towards other app stores could be one of the hacks, or one of the growth hacks for the next few years. But it's going to be very interesting as to how Apple allows side loading specifically, and how exactly the evolution of that would happen, because it's not the same. I don't think the behavior of Android and the iOS are going to be the same, personally speaking. I think Android had a lot more levers. It's always been an open source, and when you take a user outside of their own ecosystem of the Play App Store, the user might react differently as they do on Android. And that's my reservation. Although I do want that to happen, because, again, as I said, it brings more innovation, and democracy is always welcome in any state.
I agree, Piyush. About iOS specifically, it's a big question mark on exactly how Apple will we'll build it and we'll show it. We're waiting, but from the other hand, the industry, the key players are ready.
Much more passion from you, Shalom, this time. I mean, it was about, where's the growth and where's everything and how does it all come together? A very holistic view and very convincing. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you've shifted my view. What about you, Piyush? Are you like, yeah,
More often than not, I try not to pick a fight with Shalom, so, because he's right most of the time. No, I think we're in agreement on most of the points. I think it's about, I think where we sort of disagree is the history of Android and why it has not worked and why the positive hope right now. It's cautious optimism from my side. That's all I'm going to say. Basically, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not completely towards Shalom's side of saying that it's going to work.
But to your point, both of you, it is now more than ever that perfect storm of conditions about why it needs to work this time.
Yes, 100%. Those things came into fruition, the needs, the technology, the market. It's all happening right now. And this is exactly where, the partnerships with telecoms are so important, because they want to be part of the game, and they eventually also hold, different options like notifications on the devices and different things that they have also skin in the game to bring the user to alternative store to, have, growth for the alternative distribution, that they are also now part of it. And if we do it properly enough, then you bring those users that are spending more to your alternative stores because they have added value. They can spend more and get maybe incentive and bonus and rebate. And those kind of things are happening. And this is something that definitely, together with new user acquisition channels, with new technologies, can definitely embed the growth for users to alternative stores.
Completely agreed.
That was an intense debate, but now it's about tapping into the other side, the other hemisphere of your brain, where you keep your artsy self, your cool self, and also guilty pleasures. They are allowed as well, because we're talking about movies and song lyrics. The question is, give me a movie title or a song lyric that describes how you see the future of app stores and distribution. Shalom, you've got to be a musical man. I feel it. You start.
Because Piyush has a film background, and I said, I'm not even going to get into a film debate with him, battle over there. So I chose immediately a music option. I don't want to lose in this game. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. So I chose a song. I chose a song, and my song. Are you ready? It's "One More Time" by Daft Punk. Are you familiar with the song? One more time. Let's do it together. One more time. We're gonna celebrate.
We can celebrate either way.
Anyway, I think that this song, evokes some sense of excitement, of possibilities that come with something new, something innovative experiences, including also technological experiences. So I think that we have opportunity to do a major change one more time in this industry. If we do it again properly, then we will shape one more time the way we interact with app stores and applications in the future.
Very, very good. Now, Piyush.
If I have to pick a movie, I'll say it's like Inception. It's like a dream within a dream within a dream that's been there for the last, 10 years, and let's see what's going to happen in the future with no end. You never know whether you're in a reality or a dream, or it's more like a fight club, where there is an alter ego, which you never know what the illusion is. It's an illusion. Is it real? You don't know towards the end. So, maybe Fight Club. I'll go for Fight Club.
So good I didn't choose the film category.
If I have to end it on a good note, I would say One More Time. We're going to celebrate it.
Well, thank you so much. And hey, if I could do it, got one of these. Did a great job. High five to you both. And you're still going to be friends after.
Thank you.
It was really fun.
Of course.
Let's get him out for a beer. Then we'll see about it. No, definitely going to be friends. We're going to come join more podcasts, have more conversations. It's a really good conversation always with Shalom. And thanks, Peggy, for the invitation again.
Always with you.
Thanks for tuning in. fellow explorers? Want to be featured on our next show so you can brag about your successes? Then just click the link below, answer 3 quick questions, and you might find yourself smack dab in the special guest seat on our next show. And thanks again to our sponsor, The Brag Report from Digital Turbine and Apptopia. Mobile Explorers is sponsored by The Brag Report, the industry source of brand-centric insights for a mobile-centric world. Handcrafted by the mobile gurus over at Digital Turbine and Apptopia.